Kailashji, thank you very much.
Thank you
for joining me on Frankly Speaking, and most of all, I am very grateful that you've chosen to give your first interview to me.
Yeah, and it's my pleasure and honor to be with you, Arnav. I'm telling from my heart.
Kailashji, I am truly honored, and I want this occasion, this interview, to be an opportunity for people across India, and this interview is going to broadcast in 46 countries where people will watch you. I want them to get to know you. So I want you to open up.
Right.
Politicians don't open up on my show, Kailashji.
But I'm not politician, luckily.
So you can choose to be frank or frankly.
I am always, and I always believe that a child which remains in me should always remain, so that I can be free, open, simple.
Absolutely.
Without any vision or without any bias or without covering up myself. So I wanted to remain open always. And today with you, it is more important to remain open. And if I'm not open, you will do something in such a way that you can make the people open.
I have no bouncers for you, but I want to get people to get to know you. So Kailashji, tell me, we spoke about it when you made a brief appearance on the News Hour, on the day when you got this news of winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Singularly, there can't be a greater honor for any individual. People crave for this. People don't even dream about it. When you got to hear about this, what was your first reaction and what came to your mind?
Well, it came as a surprise for me that day. I was doing my routine work and preparing for a trip to Germany, which was pre-planned for quite some time. And I was Googling the cheap ticket, something like yatra.com and make my trip, things like that. Because I wanted to double check whether the quotations came from my travel agents are correct or not. And then suddenly somebody called up and said, Kailashji, Nobel Prize. And I thought that he wanted to take some reaction from me. Somebody has got the Nobel Peace Prize.
You didn't know that your name was on the short list?
Not really. It was about 6-7 years ago when it appeared in the media that my name was there. And then the story was gone. And suddenly this time also, I had no idea that Nobel Peace Prize is being declared today or who will get it. So it was a big surprise, I tell you. But within no time, all my people, my friends, colleagues from the office came and they were crying and jumping, excited. And then I understood that, oh, it has happened to me. But thank God.
How does it change life for you?
Well, I used to work since morning till late evening every day. But this time, the people whom I interacting with and the people who are meeting with me and my demands are changed. So a lot of media, international and national, a lot of big people are coming and meeting me in my office, which I could never imagine before. So interesting things are going on, but very ordinary people, a lot of children, their parents are also coming. They are so excited. I am so happy to find them with me.
Does it upset you that, as you have said, you're being recognized in your country at that level only after you've got international fame? Well,
I always say that I work for invisibility, or the people, the children who remain invisible, though they create wealth for others at the cost of their childhood and health and education and freedom, but they remain invisible. They work hard, very hard.
Yes.
So I work for them. So it was nothing new, but I had limited time, limited energy, limited resources. So one way was to use those resources in my own personality building or image building or socialization and things like that, so that people could come to know. But my time and energy and resource I used for the kids whom I work with. And they have tremendous love for me. I tell you that whenever I go to remotest areas of Assam and Jharkhand and Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, I cannot explain how much respect and love these people, the parents and the children, have for me. So that is my country.
No, but what I meant was that, as after this award, Kailashji, politicians across the spectrum, they rush to congratulate you. My question was on this level of adulation that you are now receiving, which is a product of your work. Did you have this level of adulation before you were internationally recognized at this level? Be frank with me. Were these the politicians who were standing with you? Were these the politicians, Kailashji, who were actively supporting you when you were fighting a fairly lonely battle for children, right, for many, many decades? Were they there with you?
Unfortunately not. Definitely it's an evidence that these children, the most deprived children, have never been into their political radar, perhaps. And I was not bringing any benefit to them in terms of the children are not voters, the children whom I work with are not going to influence their voting politics and so on. And neither their parents. Their parents are also quite vulnerable, quite miserable, helpless. So, and I don't believe in the caste system or things like that. So in no way they saw any benefit in me. So perhaps they ignored. So this is something new actually. I did not imagine that at least in India I will see so much response and at least the expression of support from the politicians all across.
Does it make you skeptical of them when they come to you now?
I welcome them, at least they are awakening. Through me, they are talking about the children about whom they will never talk or never listen to. So it's something special for them, because everybody who comes and congratulates me, I say that this is not the Nobel Prize for me. It's a prize for every Indian. India has been waiting since Mahatma Gandhi to get a Nobel Prize for a Desi Indian, and it's me, luckily. And it's because of those children. It's not because of my effort or nothing special in me. But these children whose voices have never heard, whose faces were never shown and noticed. So people started talking about those children, and that is the best part in this story.
Tremendous. Kailashji, according to the Director and Representative UNESCO East Asia, it was not so long ago that a representative of the Human Resource Development Ministry, I think previous government, successfully pressed to exclude you from meetings on the Education for All campaign that was convened by UNESCO. So, Mr. Satyarthi, were you aware of the reasons why the government of India wanted you to sit out of these meetings, despite UNESCO standing with you in those days? Because, you know, now the government of India and everyone seems to have done a 180-degree flip. If I may say so, because you're awarded the Nobel Prize, and you know, you have in an interview, I think, admitted that politicians have been suspicious of you. First of all, were you aware of this?
I also read in the newspaper only, though I had some suspicion when the UNESCO leadership was asking several questions, but without saying that this was the reason. But they were asking, what are you going to speak? I said, I am going to speak about world's children, because that time I was the chair of Global Campaign for Education, and I have been leading the worldwide movement for education. So I was representing the global civil society. And I think when they were convenient that Kailash is not simply talking about India, because this question was asked by those people, are you talking about the illiteracy of India? I said no, but if there is any reference I will talk, but I'm talking about the children who are deprived of education all across the world. So after that only I think they made a decision. But when I read in the newspaper, only then I came to know that it was not only this instance, but there were many instances in ILO, in UNICEF, in UN agencies, where something like this has happened.
But I can't think of a greater irony. Here I'm sitting next to you.
Yeah.
The world is recognizing you. In December, you will receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Every Indian politician now, Kailashji, will want a photo op with you, and will want to, you know, bask in your reflected glory. But I'm going to read out from this, where this official says, we were aghast when the leader of the Indian delegation to the working group a secretary level officer in the Human Resource Development Ministry made an informal request, exclude Kailash Satyarthi from future meetings. Despite our politely declining the request on the grounds that Mr. Satyarthi was invited in his capacity as chair of the GCE, that his nationality was merely coincidental, the Indian side persisted and had their way. They were suspicious of you. What were they suspicious of you about? You've been doing such good work at a risk to your own life, not now, but since the 80s. You've given up your other career to push this, not for money. And yet I find that till recently, the Indian government itself was suspicious of you. Why were they suspicious of you?
I think they are best to answer why. But as far as I understood that, I was working with the children who were trafficked, who were enslaved, who were held in bondage, and children who were sold and bought like animals, and sometimes even in lesser prices than the animals. And I was shocked to see in my initial years that many of these traffickers and mafias and criminals are so connected with the local authorities and politicians, and I think it has gone up and up, and that has created an environment that perhaps Kailash Satyarthi is not doing good for the image of the country or whatever. I think like that.
I mean, were you actually threatening certain political groups, rather, certain interest groups more than?
I never bothered for it, actually. I knew that sometimes some of those mafia people are well connected with the local or even higher politicians, but I have nothing to do with the political parties and politicians. I was fighting against a crime which is intolerable. I cannot accept this crime, whosoever does it. It could be a typical criminal, or it could be a political criminal, it could be a social or economic criminal. I was fighting against the evil, and I kept on fighting, and perhaps it might have annoyed certain sections of society. But on the other hand, there were some individual politicians, there were definitely some individual officers in the government and outside the government who were quite supportive of my work. Perhaps their voices were not so strong in comparison to those.
But it's been a difficult ride for you.
It was.
You remember this picture, Kailash ji? You remember this picture of yours? I'll put it on the screen. Is that you?
Yeah, it is me.
Right?
Yeah.
When that picture didn't make it, and I'd describe it as I speak of it, that picture did not make it to many newspapers, and there were very few TV channels at that time. Can you tell me about that moment when you were assaulted and beaten? I see you bleeding in those pictures. Your kurta is, sort of splittered with your own blood. You remember that day?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
And this is not just one incident, Arnavji. I have met with many similar incidents, but coincidentally the picture is there about this incident. But let me answer about it. We got some information from some Nepalese parents that their children have been trafficked to India, and these poor mothers had no hope. Somehow they came to know about me and my work, and they came all the way to India selling out their small goods and utensils and everything. And when I met those mothers, I thought that it could be my own mother, it could be my wife, it could be my own children who have been living in slavery-like conditions. So we have to work hard to find out where were these children. And finally we found that they were working in a circus which was running in Gonda. There's a place called Karnelganj in Gonda, Uttar Pradesh. So we decided to go for a rescue operation. We informed the local police, we informed the magistrate, and none of them, frankly speaking, was willing to help us. Rather, when my own son, who just passed out from Delhi University, the School of Law, and I requested him that since this is a complicated matter, not because it's very dangerous, but complicated because the girls belong to Nepal, and there could be some issues between India and Nepalese laws and so on. So he agreed to go along with some of his friends. So we went, and the magistrate and these people were so annoyed with him and others that this is all nonsense, the girls are happy, or there is no girl. But my people have seen that the girls were there. Somehow we decided to go, and police could not deny. Finally, when we went, we did not find any girl over there. They were already replaced from there or removed from there. But we were taken inside, and when the magistrate and the police was with me and my son and my activists and parents of these children entered, suddenly the owner of the circus started shouting on us, and he took out his gun and he put his gun on my neck. He was about to shoot. It's a matter of fraction of seconds. But luckily there was a TV channel camera which was running in the back of mine. So the police chief of that area, the SHO, he wasn't giving him some hints. Look at the camera. You are making an evidence. Ye dekho, tum sabut ikhatte kar rahe ho. He was talking in Hindi. And then this man somehow calmed down and put back his gun. But he was so angry. It was recorded in camera also. He said, kill these people, kill these people. And they were prepared already. They started hitting us, and we came out somehow. Our drivers of the cars ran away out of threat and fear. So me and my colleagues and my son was lying on the street with blood like that.
Yeah.
And only the passers-by took us to hospital. And I was one of those luckiest person that my son and I, both of us were lying on beds in one emergency room. With both of us were like that, bleeding badly. And then we looked at each other and smiled. And we thank God that none of us was killed. He was alive and I was alive. So until and unless we are not killed, we started second day. And I went for hunger strike for 6 days, demanding that until and unless all these girls are restored back, I'm not going to eat anything. I sat in front of the Vidhan Sabha of Uttar Pradesh, no protection, dozens of cars without nameplates were just wandering around. My daughter, who was in Delhi, she just joined the university, and she was getting threat calls that she could be killed, or same fate would happen with her as happened with other girls. But when these girls were freed with the intervention of the judiciary, one of them has narrated that she was multiply raped and aborted, and all these things happened to her. And she was so shocked. She does not want to speak to any male person. She does not want to see any man. And when I met for the first time after 2-3 weeks, because I was also in hospital, and then again hunger strike and hospital and so on, and everybody said that she will not talk to you. But I could recall that day when I was sitting in my ashram, Mukti ashram, and the 15-year-old came to me from the back and touched my shoulder. I was talking to everyone that, look, these girls will go to school, can become teachers, doctors, etc., etc. And then she slowly asked me that you're like my father, but I am no more child. I cannot go to school. When a 15-year-old girl says she is no more a child, and she's calling me father, I was in tears, and I could recall those moments. It was horrible. And this is happening with millions of girls in my country. This is happening with millions of girls and boys worldwide. And when they say that they are no more children, isn't it a shame? It's a shame. So I don't care. Even if I was killed, and a childhood and freedom of that girl is coming back, I would have lived my life. And it happened with more than 80,000 girls and boys like that, through my hands and hands of my colleagues.
You must have a very strong family to back you at times like this.
Yeah, definitely.
I must say that your wife must be a very strong woman.
Yeah.
Because, her husband and her son are lying there, bleeding in some hospital, in a remote area. Do you inform your wife of what happens? Did she get to know? How does your family react? And her daughter is under threat. Her son has been beaten up, and her husband is in hospital.
So she was with the children in Bal Ashram. Bal Ashram is a rehabilitation center near Jaipur, and there was no telephone line. So that day she could not find. Everybody was calling and trying to find her out, but there was no telephone connection, the signals. So second day when she was coming back, people were rushing to take her from Delhi, and somehow she came to know through them that, didn't you watch that there is a serious attack on Kailash and Bhuvan? and your daughter is alone in Delhi, and then she rushed back to Delhi. But my daughter was also courageous enough, and she said that you must go to Papa and Bhaiya first. So she rushed to Delhi, and then to Lucknow, where we were in hospital. We were still lying in hospital. And then next day, since I sat on the hunger strike, unsan, so she sat with me, and my son was lying on bed, and it was a horrifying moment. But
as a father, do you worry about your son also at that time?
For a while, actually, when I got conscious and saw my son was alive, I was happy. But few seconds, I thought that I know that whenever my son was learning bicycle and he fallen from the bicycle, and one day I used to live in a slum in South Delhi, so we were living on the slum resettlement colony in Govindpuri. So somebody came that your son has met with an accident and he fallen on his small bicycle. I jumped from the balcony and I forgot that who am I, and I just tried to get him back, and he was having small injuries. I recall that day when my son was lying to save me, and somehow I was saved, but I had very severe injuries, and he had got his backbone fractured, his lumbar 2 and lumbar 3, which is, he still has pain in his backbone. But I think I'm proud of it, and my wife is also proud of it.
What you have done with the Bachpan Bachao Andolan is tremendous, and it must have been a very lonely and difficult journey, because you've done it on your own. As we've just discussed, even the government wasn't supporting you. You have been seen with suspicion. Today, ironically, everybody wants to be with you. I'm sure you're speaking to me.
I hope that it does not remain only spontaneous excitement. It should continue, and I pray and hope, and I will work for that.
But what keeps you going at that time? Why do you do this? Why did you start doing this, and why have you done this now for how many years? Almost now 4 decades now.
Yeah,
three and a half decades. Why do you do this, and why did you choose to do this? Tell me about that.
I was born after independence, so I have not experienced freedom myself. But I read about Mahatma Gandhi, I read about Bhagat Singh and Subhash Chandra Bose, and I read about Asfaqullah Khan, Ram Prasad Bismil, and all those people in my childhood, as any other child in a small town does and did those days. So I was very much fan of those people, and I was a great lover of freedom. That freedom is something which is a fundamental right, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak once said that freedom is birthright. But when I came across some incidents in my childhood and saw that children are not free to go to school because they are working, but there was no notion of child labor, there was no research, there was no individual, there was no NGO, nothing. So it was absolute zero to learn. But when I passed out as an engineer and worked for about a year, it was close to my mind, very deep in my heart, that I have to do something. But there were several ways, as Gita says, that one was pursuit for knowledge. I could have acquired more and more knowledge, and then I could spread the knowledge about passion, about love, about freedom, liberty, etc., etc., truth, non-violence. So the knowledge was important. Another path was the path to meet with the God and divinity, and the third path was path of action. But path of action was definitely challenging and difficult, but once you take the first step, bold step, with determination, with conviction, with truthfulness, and start action, then action speaks millions times more than the words, as they say. And my action, of course, it took some time to be heard, but it suddenly becomes such a big thing. I could not imagine. It's overwhelming. Thousands of letters are coming from all across the world, from the activists, from the ordinary people, from apart from the politicians and UN agencies, leaders and so on, very ordinary activists are so overwhelmed. They feel that they have got the Nobel Prize, and I've been saying that this is not me.
It appears to me that the recognition from your peers is more important for you than the recognition from politicians. From what you're saying, it appears to me that the recognition from activists, from people in the field, from grassroots workers,
absolutely
means more to you than celebrities or politicians
absolutely
lining up your door.
Absolutely.
So
because they are the one who are the pioneers, they are the one who are the ambassadors, multipliers, they are the one who will put their minds and hearts and soul and time and energy, everything, to make this world child labor free.
So in an interview I saw that you had said that people involved in the carpet, garment and other industries that exploit children illegally are very well connected people, and you have said that you have rescued children from these people who are not only running the business but they are also parliament members. They are ministers. So Mr. Satyarthi, this is far too serious an issue and an allegation not to name them. Why don't you name these politicians?
Well, I always believe that
MPs and ministers.
Yeah, I'm not against any individual. I am against the evil which they do, the crime which they do.
But MPs and ministers.
Absolutely. And then we try to initiate legal actions against those people, though it's not easy, you can understand. But we tried. Let me tell you, Arnav.
No, let me just push that a bit.
Yeah.
If you see, okay, so you are saying you will not name them. I understand there may be legal issues there. But since this is a very serious issue and you now have the stature to push your point, and if there is injustice happening somewhere, it should not be allowed to happen. If the government of India were to ask you, you can confidentially tell us who in your view are those politicians or MPs or ministers or ex-ministers who are exploiting children in any industry which they are a part of, own or patronize. Will you tell the government the names?
I can tell something about the past which we experienced, and we have brought to sometimes to the court and sometimes to the government also. It is not that we did not bring it before, but we will ask the government definitely that please do something and do a very sincere investigation in entire South Block, North Block, South Avenue, North Avenue, Vittalbhai Patel House, where the politicians and parliamentarians live. A good investigation, independent investigation could be carried out in those areas where the government officials live. One can definitely find domestic child labor. The children, the young girls of 13, 14, 15 who were perhaps trafficked by a agency, the placement agency, or sometimes these officials or politicians bring domestic help from their home villages or hometowns or home constituencies to Delhi or to other places. So a lot of work has to be done, and I would appeal to them that at least India has a Nobel Peace Prize now. It is their moral responsibility to take a pledge today that I will not keep a girl.
You see, politicians are the worst offenders, you're saying?
I won't say it, but I would definitely say that if they make the decision, conscious decision, if they set an example, it will go broader and bigger and deeper. No. So they should pledge and take an example.
I agree with you, but what about those politicians who exploit children illegally in sort of industries which they are a part of? Does that also happen?
It also happens because...
So shouldn't those politicians be completely exposed?
If they are not really willing to get out of it, if they are not willing to make their industries and their supply chains and their businesses free of child labor, then my organization would definitely work against it. We are not going to sit quiet in the new situation. But first of all, we believe that they should follow the oath they have taken if they are elected as.
But you have the information on them?
Not really, not very exact information. But time to time, when we, for instance, when we go to rescue some children, suddenly we find that this particular workshop belongs to a big supply chain which works for a big company, big name, or big industrialist, or that industrialist himself is a politician. So it happens like that. It happened in carpet and garment industry in the past.
Did former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar threaten you?
We read in the newspapers, in fact, that this whole child labor issue is nonsense. There's nothing like child labor or child.
He said
it in carpet industry, and he has threatened, not to me personally, but he has threatened that he would love to remove it from the prohibitive part of the child labor law, because carpet knotting or carpet weaving is prohibited under child labor law so far. But the Prime Minister himself said that he will do his best to remove it from the prohibitive part, because maybe because of his connections, maybe because of his belief that these children, his argument was that these children are learning skills and let them learn skills. It is not exploitation, it is not child labor. That was his belief.
So how does it feel to have, and because you have said in an interview that a former Prime Minister had told you that you have ruined the carpet industry and that he would take action against you, but then you ducked the question on whether it was Chandrasekhar. Obviously it's Chandrasekhar because he was the only person who was from that part of Uttar Pradesh.
No, there were others also from that part, but he was the man who did it, and it is unfortunate actually.
Tell me, Mr. Satyarthi, how does it feel? This must have been 89, 90, 91 period at that time.
Yeah, something
and
like
now
that.
2014. 25 years have passed. One former Prime Minister threatens to take action against you.
No, he was Prime Minister that time.
One Prime Minister, okay.
Yeah.
One Prime Minister threatens to take action against you. And one Prime Minister invites you for a cup of tea after you receive the Nobel Prize. I mean, it must be mind-numbing sometimes to contrast these two situations. You think about it, how things have changed now?
Thanks to the Nobel Committee, who has found someone who was unknown somewhere in India.
That's true.
And the things are changing. But beside that, actually, my own sense after meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that he was really very excited. He was very positive and constructive. He has narrated what he is doing for children in Gujarat and what he wanted to do. And he was very open, and he invited me to give him suggestions on the issue of child rights and children education, all aspects of children. So that was quite positive. So it was not simply courtesy, but his openness was really commendable.
Yeah, but you know, while the previous government was very closely involved with NGOs, Mr. Satyarthi, you had the NAC that was guiding a number of UPA government policies. The NDA government, it is believed, views NGOs far more suspiciously. You may have seen that the Intelligence Bureau submitted a classified document with several foreign-funded NGOs, etc. You know, there has been a suspicion created on NGOs. What is the work they are doing? Do they represent Western interests? Are they trying to do something essentially anti-Indian? Will they spoil the image of India internationally? Do you feel this fear and suspicion is justified?
Well, as far as I read in the newspapers and came to know from some NGO friends, that it was not just in this government. Something was already there in the past, and the reports were prepared in the past government, and NAC was there, the government was there, and the leader of NAC was the leader also of the ruling party, etc. So it was done in the past government, but somehow it was kept hidden, and now it is coming out. So I won't think that it is just in the last 3 months. It was for several years.
So it's been going on for some time.
It was going on for some time.
But you feel it's justified because, you know, there is a bit of, there's this whole argument that foreign, you know, there's a generalization that is made that funding that NGOs receive, foreign funding is particular, is that, you know, they must be part of a discredit India campaign. And, you know, this IB report to the government also sort of indicated that, that they will run down the great India story.
My experience confirms that few things. One is that what is the intention behind that funding? What is the purpose and objective behind that funding from both ends, the donor and recipients both.
Right.
The second thing is that whether this is there is some sort of interference or control by those donors. And thirdly, it's the whole issue of transparency in receiving and spending the funds. And fourthly, the accountability, whom you are accountable for. Normally, I come from the civil society sector. I won't call typical NGO sector, but civil society is whole. You are civil society.
Yes, sure.
So when it comes to the civil society's accountability, I have a deep belief that we are accountable to the people whom we work for and work with, the constituencies. My constituency is children, so I feel deepest moral responsibility to my own children whom I work with and the children across the country whom I talk for. But normally what happens, we feel in the civil society responsible mainly either for our donors or for some of the government agencies, but not for the people whom we are working with. So the moral component is very much important in it. But I would definitely see that civil society has a very important role as a critical policy partner with the government, with the businesses, with other sectors, because you cannot keep the segregation now. Absolutely. In this new change situation, yes, not in India, globally also. I remember that civil society or NGOs were never invited in the UN discourses in the past, and now we have a strong place in all those discourses.
But you know what, the general criticism of some people is, that I'm not saying, most of it probably is unfounded criticism, but the criticism is of a lot of people that, you see, these activists, they hype up the problem in India. The problem is not so big. They hype up the problem in India for their own reasons, and then we get, negative, India's image goes bad. For example, let me give you one allegation, not that I always take her seriously. Madhu Kishwar says that the Nobel Peace Prize goes to Indians only if they rake in the lot of foreign funding, especially from missionary church-backed agencies. She even goes on to say, and I quote, "The kind of people they promote are projecting an image of India as still in need of a civilizing mission."
I think she knows better than me about me and my organization, and this question was raised by many others.
Yes.
I won't comment on just one person.
But why do you think this kind of criticism comes? This is on October 16, 2014, obviously.
I think it's also the lack of information. They should work hard to get more information. There are many ways to do it. Anybody is invited to go to those NGOs as well as the Bachpan Bachao Andolan. They can also seek information from the government agencies. It's very simple, but such kind of things sometimes move on perceptions, and people love it to remain in the discussion on such issues. If they keep on talking, NGOs are doing so good and BBA is doing so good and Kailash, you are tremendous, then who is going to listen to these people? And I love these kind of things. Let them speak. But I tell you that
you seem to be fairly large-hearted.
When I gave up my career as an engineer, yes, and my mother was crying.
Which year? 1980?
That was 1980, in the end of 80. I started in
Where did you do your engineering?
From Vidisha, my hometown, yes, Madhya Pradesh.
Yes.
So my mother was very worried. She was a poor widow. She spent all her money. Even she sold her ornament. And my brothers also spent money on making me engineer. But I was determined to do something else. So when I gave up, she was worried not about my career alone, but about my safety. And she cried. Of course, she had proud for me, but she cried. But I tried to convince her. So I did not really. I was not deterred with that. I was not deterred with the tears of my poor widow mother. Who can deter me? Who can deter me? These criticisms for me have no meaning. And even if you praise me, what does it mean? I mean, it's good, but do something for children. I tell you that whosoever love children and have ever spent time with the poor children in their life for a day or two or three, then their perception would be different.
You know what, when you said to me right at the start of this conversation that, maybe politicians and others didn't look at you because children are not vote banks, we talk about that so often nowadays. And very often such terrible stories come up in the media about what happens to children. But we focus mostly on urban areas, and there are so many stories which probably are not coming out. Kailashji, do you feel child labor in India and child trafficking, human trafficking, is like a dirty secret that authorities are in denial about? And there appears to be a conflict, yeah, between activists on the one side and authorities. I mean, you're a very polite and sort of understated man, but obviously I sense the conflict when I'm speaking. There's a conflict building up on both sides. Maybe you can be the bridge, or maybe you can help break that now.
Arnavji, this I knew right from the beginning, and even now, that this is a fight against the mindset This is the fight against vested interest. This is the fight against old age traditions. This is the fight against the crime which is perpetuating in our society in various forms and facades. So it's a big fight, I know it. And I know that who will be on the other side, and perhaps 1, 2, 3, 10 people or 100 people come in my side, or the side of the children, basically, not my side alone. So it's there. But I hope that the things will change, and it is not hidden. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was the hidden scenario. But I believe in India's democracy. I was able to live and work because we have vibrant democracy, we have strong democracy, and democracy is not a political system for me. It's the part of the DNA of our culture. We cannot live without democracy. And that's why some of the best judgments in the world about child trafficking, child labor, child bonded labor, child slavery came from India's judiciary, from the Supreme Court and from the high courts. Some of the best schemes came out of it. Some of the very, very good laws were enacted in India because we are a strong democracy. So when the Supreme Court judgments come, they speak much more deeper, louder, bigger than what I could think. They made the investigations. The Supreme Court itself sent some commissioners, and commissioners dig out the most difficult situations where the children are living and coming from and exposed to it. It came from 1980-81 when the Supreme Court has brought the judgment on Asiad labor case and exposed the whole issue of man, women and children, how they were treated in making Asiad game city or village, etc. in 81. So this tradition of Indian judiciary and democracy has been enormous, and these issues are also time to time brought before the Supreme Court. Now we have much more knowledge. For instance, I was reading today, I was talking to my son as well. He's informed that the latest situation of missing children is so serious and so pathetic that 15 children go missing every hour in India, and more than half are not properly found, or almost half are not found. They remain untraced. And these children are trafficked, sold for child weddings, child prostitutions, child domestic labor, child bonded labors, and so on. But that figure does not come from my organization or from me. These figures come from the government of India's sources. It is not an hidden fact now. It's very open. And thanks to media, I would say that media has been enormously helpful in bringing these out.
But you have the power now to shake things up. You have the power to shake things up, you know, and I think I have a strong sense that you are going to use that power to do the things which perhaps you could not do to the extent to which you could have if you had a free hand. But Kailashji, people will now look up to you. People will look up to you. You're an icon. You've become a legend, and people will look up to you. And I can tell you one thing: if anyone pushes back against you, if you're pushing for a good cause, I think the people of India will stand by you. You're a man of deep conviction and belief. I've interviewed many people, but I see that coming through. And you are a tremendous idealist as well. And I think that, you know, you have a great role for people in the future. Kailashji, tell me, so many, wherever I read about you, I'm told that you and your organization, the Bachpan Bachao Andolan and others, you've rescued many children, you know, brought them up from different situations and brought them out from terrible situations of slavery and prostitution, etc. Give me that one image. There must be one image in your mind which stands with you, so you told me about the day your mother, you know, she cried, she was worried for your safety. But there must be one image in the last 30 odd years which makes you feel that you took exactly the right decision at that time. If there is any one moment or image, I'd like you to just describe it for our viewers before I wrap up this chat.
Arnabji, every time, frankly speaking, when I rescue a child, I feel that it's a small victory of liberty over slavery. I feel that I am getting freed. I never believe that I am doing something for these children and I'm doing some mercy or charity and I am doing some great work. Not really, because I'm freeing myself, because I I believe in inner emancipation and inner freedom, and it can come only when you do something which is uncommon for many people, which is not usual for many people. And freeing a child is something very special. It's divine, I tell you. So whenever I take back that child to his mother's lap, and the mother who lost all hope that the child will ever come back and she will ever feel a child sitting in her lap, and the first tear of joy comes from her eyes, I tell you that I see the God in the eyes of that woman. I have a glimpse of God in the face of that child who is smiling for the first time as a freed child. Where can I find a God? Where can I find the strength? I draw strength from every single case. And I am one of the luckiest persons, perhaps, who has experienced it thousands times, not hundreds. So that gives me power. But let me share with you one story. We went to rescue a group of stone quarry workers in Haryana. We knew that their grandparents have been trafficked from Rajasthan to work in stone quarries in Haryana, and that stone quarry belonged to a big politician. It was not directly under the name, but it was illegally running quarry by the son of then Chief Minister, and the son himself was the parliament member. So no police could dare to go and help.
Who was the Chief Minister?
I need not to name now, because the case is pending, and we were not able to prove because it was not in his name. It was a local operator, but these kind of things go on like that. So police were not willing to go, and we did not inform the police about the exact place. So we waited for the whole night and watched it and did some homework. And very early in the morning, we went to rescue that group. We hired a truck and went there. We were able to bring several people, about I think 56 people, children, men and women. I normally drive my car at the time of rescue operations because it's very risky, it's very dangerous, and I love driving also, that's one reason. But in many cases the drivers run away, they could be bribed, they could be threatened, and we are alone with the children and we could not do anything. And so in 100% cases I drive myself or my closest people drive. So I was driving the car and I brought some children in my car, and others were in the truck, men and women. So about 8 or 9 children were sitting in my car, and we were running very fast because before the people come, because we carried this operation early in the morning at 5 o'clock, 5:30, when this gunman or the watchman used to go for toilet or freshened up. We chose that time. So when I was driving the car, the children were traumatized, they were silent, they could not understand, they could not comprehend the freedom, because they were born and grew up in those situations. The parents were born and grew up, and it was the quarry owner who got matches and married man and woman, and it happened like that. So the grandparents were trafficked to that place. So it was third generation, and the children could not comprehend the roads and cars and all these things. So I thought that just to make them happy, make them feel easy, I asked them to take some bananas. There was a bunch of banana lying which were left over for the whole night because we were doing every preparation the entire night. So in the back some bananas were lying. So I told those boys and girls, take up those bananas and eat. They could not understand. Then one of them, I said, this is a green thing. They took it, and one boy took the banana and said that I have never seen that kind of potato. The girl who was sitting beside me, she touched that banana and she said that ye to pyaj koni, it is not even the onion. They have never seen anything except onion and potato. Then I said, no, it's fruit, it's very, very sweet, start eating it. So they trusted me. I was trying to insist and I was laughing and making them laugh. So the girl took out the banana and started eating it without peeling. And suddenly I saw that 2 children were eating, others could not eat because they did not taste banana before, eating without peeling. And then I realized that it's a centuries old gap between peeling a banana and eating banana without peeling it.
My God.
It's such a gap. But I taught them how to do it. I was driving fast. After eating the banana, this girl, her name was Devli, she was about 6-7-year-old girl. She suddenly asked in anger, "Tu pehle kaun aaya? Why didn't you come early?" And she was so angry. And I saw her eyes full with faith for me, full with trust for me, full with anger for me, and the challenge. Why didn't you come early? And I saw that this is such a question which is asked for everyone who talk of humanity, who talk of God, who talk of religions, who talk of democracy, who talk of constitutions and what? Civilizations and culture. This is the question for everyone. Why don't you go early? Why don't you act now?
Absolutely.
It brought me tremendous sense of emergency, tremendous sense of urgency. We must act now. I cannot wait. If it happens with your child, if your child is taken away from you for an hour or 2, I asked to the audience who are watching me, what would you do? You will become mad. You will become mad. I ask for that madness in you. If you come to know that any child is exploited and abused and victims of violence and denial education and denial freedom, think for a while that if it was your child, what would you do?
Yeah.
So my drive is an applied, what I say, the applied spirituality, not a political thought. My drive comes from the compassion. And I strongly advocate to socialize compassion. Compassion is not something between me and you. Compassion is something which has to be translated into action. More active compassion. And that compassion has to be globalized. We globalize economies, we globalize market, we globalize information, we globalize technology. All these things are there. But if we have to sustain our societies and the world, we must globalize compassion. And the compassion begins with children.
Mr. Satyarthi, I wish you all the power in the world. And I hope that you become an unstoppable force, because we talk about being a young country and being a democracy.
I'm not too old. I'm 60-year-old.
No.
I have to work for another 15, 20 years.
You will work for longer than that, and may you infect the same idealistic passion in thousands of Kailash Satyarthis.
Thank you, Arnabji.
For the work that you are doing, for speaking from your heart, and for bringing about the change that you are bringing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
it's my
you
pleasure. And I told you the very first day that I watch your shows with passion. And that passion is in you, and that connects me and you.
Thank you, Kailash ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
More power to you. Thank you. Thank you.